My husband is an employee at a tech business, while I am a stay-at-home mom to our 3, 7, and 10-year-old children. At the very least, twice a week, I hit the grocery store. The King Colon is conveniently located near our house, but I also occasionally hit the neighboring Target. Those are just two of the few food stores in our peaceful town. I come from an Italian family and am 40 years old right now, just so you know. I was 39 years old when this occurred, which was only a year ago. I went to the store later than usual one day because I was behind on my shopping. It was far after 9 o'clock when I rushed over to the store with my coupons and flyers because the King Colon buyers closed at 10. I had to rush to the store since the kids were nagging me about how there wasn't enough food in the house. It was usually late when my husband got home from work, so I had to take my 3-year-old daughter Haley shopping. It was a treat to be able to go shopping by myself for a change. I arrived at the King Colon, which was unusually empty for this time of day due to its impending clausure. I hastily snatched a cart and began making circuits of the store, stocking up on all the things on my list and taking advantage of any sales. A sudden tap on my shoulder startled me as I was in the cereal aisle. As I spun around, I noticed a somewhat stocky man wearing jeans, a red zipper-up sweatshirt, a black OT, a baseball cap, and a height approximately that of myself. He questioned where I got the chips from my cart, and then apologized for frightening me by saying he had been searching everywhere for a certain bag. I gently informed him of the aisle, and he apologized, saying he had looked but couldn't locate it. Consequently, I showed him just where the chips were. After we had engaged in some meaningless small talk, he abruptly stopped and stated, "Gosh, you're pretty." I was grateful. He continued talking after I thanked him and attempted to return to my shopping. I politely explained that I simply wanted to shop without interruption. Even though he appeared to get the point and left, I couldn't help but notice the man circling the aisles throughout my whole stay at the store that evening. As I neared completion and made my way to the checkout, he materialized directly behind me in line, further adding to my growing discomfort. I disregarded his wish for a good night as I emptied my trolley. I caught sight of the red hooded man in the parking lot staring at me as I got out of my car at home. He was making his way to his automobile. As I sped away, I noticed he had hopped into a beat-up Honda and was hot on my trail. Even though my husband drove him away as soon as we returned home, the fact that a predator like that knows my address makes me feel uneasy.
I worked at Wallbounds while I was a college student. I worked the overnight shift periodically, even though I was 20 years old and a college student, because my job was a 24-hour one. I saw on one occasion that my appointment was set for Tuesday night from 12 to 8 in the morning. I requested my boss to explain why it made me feel nauseous. According to him, I won't have much of a choice after I turn 18. I almost resigned, but I knew I couldn't do without the income, so I stayed put. At 12 o'clock, I took Amanda's place at the store. In an effort to conserve energy, half of the store's lights were turned out at this hour. When I arrived, there were a surprising number of clients. Nevertheless, by 1 a.m. the establishment was deserted. I felt as bored as can be at 2 in the morning. I looked around the building to see whether anyone else was working. A bald man resembling a manager would occasionally stop by the front registers. He sported a little bag resembling a backpack and a key ring affixed to his khakis, which held what seemed like 10 keys. Upon my inquiry, he verified his status as the manager. While he kept an eye on the front, he sent me to sort the pallets in the back warehouse. I noticed him making a motion toward the front door, as if to lock it, as I made my way to the rear. While I was describing the first man to rob, another manager I met in the warehouse, he appeared perplexed. The lights went out in the warehouse before we could even leave. Rob went to see what was happening, and we found out that the guy had shut himself in and turned off the electricity. He was seen doing suspicious laps around the store in the surveillance footage. After that, I was never a fan of working overnights.
In a community that was more rural than urban, I used to work as a night restocker at a great American supermarket. Restocking and organizing the shelves would be my job from 10 p.m. until 3 a.m. After hours, I could unlock the store with the key in my hand, and my typical coworkers, Terry Carter or Alfonso, were my partners. Terry was supposed to be my coworker tonight. When I got to the store, I slipped into the back room where they kept all the inventory. I went to the back room to get our stuff after starting to work, but then realized Terry wasn't there. Even though Terry wasn't around, I did see that the rear door was closed. Terry informed me he was too sick to come in that night when I called him. My body shivered all of a sudden. He said the door stopper could have undone itself when I informed him someone kicked it off. It failed to persuade me. I yelled out once more, and as I peered down an aisle, a man in black crossed the store's threshold from the other side. Just as I was about to approach, he vanished behind the bookcases. Upon stepping outside, I contacted the authorities. The man who was licking his lips and smiling the whole time was detained. The terrifying grin remains with me to this day. I persisted in my job, but I made sure to never again leave any opportunities unattended.